This message is from Shaila Touchton from Emmanuel Divine Ministries, Florida. Better to be poor and honest than to be dishonest and rich. The love of money can motivate any evil on this earth. Rich sometimes get rich by oppressing the poor. There are many wicked rich people in this world who have hardened their hearts, filled with arrogancy, selfishness, harshness, cold-heartedness, throwing rich parties, wasting their money on useless things, who are overfed and has no pity or concern about the poor people, but are hoarded with wealth, pride, and refuse to pay their workers, who do not even defend the rights of the poor, nor share their wealth or food with the poor and needy. But in scriptures we see that when Jesus and his disciples threw parties, they invited the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Luke 14, chapter 14, 12-13 says, "But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind." Are we doing these things? When we celebrate anything, are we celebrating with the poor people? Are we celebrating with the needy? Are we celebrating with the holy people or the godly people? No. We are throwing our wealth for the wicked people, bringing the people from all the rich houses and celebrating and wasting. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the people off from the earth and the needy from among the men, says Proverbs 30:14. We can remember the parable of Jesus told about the beggar Lazarus and the rich man. Jesus says that only the rich man had a great wealth and that he enjoyed his wealth while Lazarus suffered miserably outside his gate. What justice is that? The rich man exploited Lazarus to acquire wealth. He simply neglected to share, so God punished him. Godly rich. Godly richness is showing our generosity in good works, such as helping the poor, needy, disabled, helping the humble widows, orphans, and foreigners, sharing the testimony of the God with unbelievers. No matter how justly we have acquired our wealth, God demands that we act generously towards the poor and the people of the God. That doesn't mean that you take on all your wealth and give it to pastors and make the church rich, make the church look million dollars rich. That's not important. Care for the poor. You build a small church and worship God, but care for the poor. I have seen there are so many priests who work so hard day and night, but their money is not being paid, and their money has been taken to help others. They just get a tiny bit of allowance. There are such pastors and the priests who don't even take any kind of money. There are barely who can make up their living. They sacrifice their life. Help them. Be supportive to them. And there are greedy and rich who throws the parties with the rich royal people and luxurious people. Beware of them. Proverbs 22:9 says, "A generous man will himself be blessed, for he shares his food with the poor." Proverbs 29:7 says, "The righteous consider the cause of the poor, but the wicked regard not to know it." God cares for the poor people. In this world today, we see only few people care about the poor. God curses on anyone who looks down on the poor and the needy. Proverbs 28:27 says, "He that gives unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hide his eyes shall have many curse." When we give to the poor and needy, we are lending it to God. When we are doing good works, it will come back to us. Proverbs 19:17 says, "He who is gracious to a poor man lends to the Lord, and He will repay him for his good deed." Always remember, there is also another kind of poor people. Some people are poor because they make sinful choices because of the lack of self-control, by their disobedience to the will of God, by pursuing a life of pleasure and hypocrisy. That time they'll become poor. Proverbs 28:19 says that he works his land will have an abundant food, but the one who chases fantasies will have his fill upon the poverty. And some people become poor because of unwise in their financial usage, like buying things that they don't need, or not saving for the emergency, or buying a lot of things by making into too many debts, and spending on gambling, spending on liquor, spending on evil addictions. People can bring poverty on themselves by refusing to follow a wise counsel. Proverbs 13:18 says, "Poverty and disgrace come to him who ignores the instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is honored." Some of the choices they make are lying, stealing, willful ignorance of the wise instruction, laziness, gluttony, gambling, lottery, drunkenness, negligence, waste, greediness, adultery, and bad addictions. Do not be with the heavy drinkers of wine, or with the glutton eaters of meat, for the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to the poverty, and drowsiness will clothe a man with rags. That's what the Proverbs 23:20-21 says. Drunkenness can lead to sexual immorality, anger, fighting, and even murder. For such kind of poor people, we should admonish them to walk in righteousness, godly path, by helping them to quit their present lifestyle, by rebuking and encouraging them to walk uprightly in the eyes of God, not on human standards. But God will still hold us accountable for our actions. He who covers his sins will not prosper, but who confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. Neither thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards shall inherit the kingdom of God, which says in 1 Corinthians 6:10. Paul commanded Christians not to associate with anyone, so-called brother, if he should be an immoral person, or covetous, or an idolater, and a reviler, or a drunkard, or a swindler, not even to eat with such one. That's there in 1 Corinthians 5:11. So true happiness, peace, and satisfaction are there in our lives when we follow and live in God's ways. Thank you for listening to my message. God bless you.